Although I've gotten better at it over the years, sometimes I still catch myself seeking validation from others. In other words, I felt like I wanted to know that whatever I said or did was okay by their standards. Whether that meant it was socially acceptable or not too invasive or offensive, or I looked good, or it was a quality product, etc. So for example, I might make a YouTube video and then review it and think that it looks okay, but sometimes that doesn't quite feel good enough, as though that opinion's not valid unless I corroborate it with at least a few other people. So I'll go out of my way to ask people some critical questions like, was the content coherent and did it make sense? How was the sound quality or the lighting, etc. Another example might be some of the home renovations I've been doing over the last 2 years. So sometimes I'll know that I want to paint something a certain color or install something new, arrange it a certain way, whatever, but it's difficult for me to go through with that decision until I run it by somebody else and get their approval or their validation. But as always, I want to point out what I think some of the drawbacks are of constantly seeking validation or approval and how we should be responding to that instinct instead. So first of all, the more approval and validation I seek, the more indecisive and uncertain I become, which wastes time because it takes that much longer to make a decision, not to mention energy and a whole lot of other resources. But it also causes a lot of anxiety because everything is always just up in the air rather than materializing or coming to life. And I always have to sit there wondering when it's actually going to happen. Second of all, I've talked at length before about the consequences of constantly seeking approval from others. Because if you're constantly pressuring others to respond positively to you, then it stresses them out because they don't know when the next time is they're going to say one wrong thing that's going to push you over the edge and upset you. You also come across as though you have no confidence. And eventually you're just going to become annoying because of the persistence of it all. So people will just start avoiding you and not assign any weight to your opinion or start valuing what you have to say because you're too busy worrying about what everybody else has to say. But perhaps most notably, opinions will always vary widely on any given thing. There's no one thing in the entire world that everybody just unanimously agrees upon. So that means you might find your one favorable opinion, but then move on to the next person and they'll have a completely different opinion. So I might find somebody who reacts favorably to one of my YouTube videos, but then I'll move on to the next person. They might say that I talk too fast, and then the next person will say I talk too slow. The person after that will say I should change up my thumbnails or my titles to get more clicks or more views. And so what does that mean? You might very well know what makes you happy or what you want to do, but if unanimous approval is the prerequisite for it, then you'll never end up giving yourself permission to actually go forth and do whatever you want to do or what's going to make you happy. So all this leaves us with a question of what should we be doing instead? And I'd argue that is to ask yourself, what do you think? What's your opinion? What's going to make you approve or feel happy and fulfilled? And usually that'll guide you towards feeling a little bit more confident and less dependent on others. So for me, it's not making videos that have fancy thumbnails or titles that get me the most subscribers or views. Instead, it's being true to myself and authentic to the stories that I want to share and to help people avoid making the same mistakes that I did. But of course, I'm not saying that you should just not care about other people's opinions at all. I think valuing the feedback of others certainly can help you improve and help you build relationships. I'm just saying that the next time you find yourself in the downward spiral of seeking approval and validation from others, try looking inwards first before you look outwards. So try it out, let me know how it works for you, and I'll see you next time.